Alrighty, you guys, so I asked you guys on YouTube what you wanted to see next, and you guys chose a palette declutter, but this time we are decluttering face palettes instead of eyeshadow palettes. So I hope you guys like this. I don't really know how this is going to go. All I know is that I look inside this drawer and I do not feel happy. I don't know how much I'm going to get rid of here, but honestly, something needs to happen because this is just dysfunctional and I honestly forget to even go in here. So yeah, something needs to change, and I think that starts with getting rid of some stuff. So let's hop right into it, and I'm gonna keep doing finger guns. Yeah. First, let's start with this. This is the Jaclyn Cosmetics, I know, don't cancel me, Flash palette. I'm gonna blind y'all. Woo! This is one of her highlighter palettes that came out last year. I think it was like around the holiday time. And I ended up getting it on sale around Christmas time. And I wasn't so sure that I was going to be buying from Jaclyn Cosmetics after the whole lipstick thing, but I did end up buying this, and honestly, these highlighters are fantastic. I love the formula. They're very creamy, they're very shiny, they're not glittery. I love the different shades. I feel like they work really well together or on their own. I really like this palette. It feels really good quality as well. So even though I'm not a huge fan of Jaclyn or her antics anymore, nothing against her, I just think she's done some things that I don't quite want to support. I still really like this palette, and I've already given her the money, so I'm gonna keep it. Okay, so I have both of the MAC Hyper Real Glow palettes right here. This one is in the shade Flash and Awe, I think. This is the more like pinky cool tone one, and then this one right here is the more like golden bronzy tone, and I have to say these are actually really good. I picked both of these up at TJ Maxx, so I did not pay full price for these, but I think even for the full price, they are worth it. They're really nice. The formula is like very like creamy. They wear really nicely on the face, and I actually like these a lot. This one is a little bit dark for me, especially these two shades, but this one I really like, and then this palette, all the shades work for me, so I am going to keep both of these. Okay, so here we have my Anastasia Beverly Hills Sun Dipped Glow Kit, and I definitely bought this, and I bought into the hype with this, you guys. Like, honestly, this was on sale a few years ago, and I bought it, and, you know, it wasn't terrible, but from the moment that I got it, I was like, what is this hype all about? My favorite shade, I would have to say, is Moonstone. It's very like shiny and reflective, but all the other shades are just okay. I actually think that Tourmaline is a very unique shade and actually looks really cool, even though it looks kind of like gray purple here. I don't know. It's hard because they're not bad, but every time I use them, I just kind of feel disappointed. So yeah, I do think I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, next is this Ace Beauté Bronzed in Paradise palette. It's a bronzer slash contour palette. I think I've used this like twice. You can see it like barely looks used. So I actually do think I'm going to pass this on to somebody or possibly even sell it because, I mean, you can see this hasn't even been used really. I really do think I used it once. These three are okay. I just have so many bronzers that I don't necessarily think I need to use this one. And so I'm definitely gonna give this to one of my friends or sell it. Not sure what yet, but gonna do one of those. Okay, so I have several Becca palettes, and this one I bought for the packaging, just like purely for the packaging. I loved it. This is the Becca Blushed with Light Blush Trio. So I bought this a few years ago. I don't even remember. This was a holiday release back when Becca was like, you know, kind of relevant still. It has these three blush shades in here, and I have to say I actually really like these shades. I think they're really nice. This one's kind of like a light pinky color. This one's definitely like a bronzy gold, and this one's kind of like a, I don't know, like peachy gold shift kind of color to it. And the shades are called Wisteria, Songbird, and Snapdragon, which I believe are all actual shades of their blushes. So I am going to keep this, even though it is a limited edition palette. I believe that you can get all three of these shades. So, I mean, that's nice. And I also do like the formula of these. I like mixing them all together, but I also like having it for this shade right here, which I believe is Wisteria, because I don't have a ton of cool tone blushes, so I really like having this. Okay, next we have the Flower Shimmer and Strobe Highlighting Palette. This is what it looks like. It has three shades. This was really hyped up like 2 years ago, I want to say, and I have made quite a dent in this shade on it. I don't think you can really see it. I don't know, maybe you can. There's like kind of a dent in the middle there. I use this shade a lot. I think it's a really, really creamy, white frosty shade, but I also like the other two for mixing purposes. And I honestly really do like the formula of these, and I think these are some of the best highlighters you can get at the drugstore, so I'm going to keep this palette. It's a good one. I highly recommend it. Okay, next we have this disgusting sleek palette. This is the Solstice palette. I know that this palette was really hyped up for a while, and people kind of turned on it, you know, saying that it was a little too much, it wasn't actually that great, but I have always liked this palette from the minute I got it. I've loved this palette. I do wear this like out and about, and I also wear it, you know, when I'm filming, and I think that it looks great both ways. I really like this palette. I know some people don't like this kind of more like baked formula that the sleek highlighters have, but I really like it. I think this looks gorgeous on the skin, and I'm going to keep this. However, one that I am going to be getting rid of is this guy. This is actually fairly new to my collection. I've had this for less than a year, but this is the sleek Cleopatra's Kiss highlighter palette, and I bought this because I love the Solstice palette, and I thought this would be a good addition to it because it is more gold. What I failed to realize is that these two shades right here are cream shades, and they're not the same type of cream as in the other one. They're more like stiff and kind of even chunky, and then these two shades have lots of glitter in them, which I do not like. The other ones did not have glitter, but this shade especially has a lot of glitter. I don't know if you guys can see, but that purpley shade has a lot of glitter in it. I was just overall not impressed with this palette, so I am going to be passing this along, especially because I haven't used it that many times. Oh my goodness, okay, what a throwback. Does anybody remember when this palette came out? This was like a summer release. I want to say it was summer 2016. This was the Becca and Jaclyn Hill, what was this? Champagne Collection face palette. It had Champagne Pop right here, Prosecco Pop right here, and then 3 blushes that she made, which are Rose Spritz, Amaretto, and Pamplemousse. So Rose Spritz, Amaretto, and Pamplemousse. I loved the absolute crap out of this palette. You see it featured on my channel a lot during, I think, like 2016 era into 2017, and I thought it was a really nice palette. Again, Becca used to do really good with these palettes, but I feel like they kind of have fallen off. I really like all 3 of these blushes. I think I'm going to keep this palette, 1, just for the nostalgia of it, and 2, I really do like these blushes, and I do pick them up and use them. You know, putting Jaclyn aside, this is a good palette objectively, and even though you can't get it anymore, I still do like it for my personal use. I don't use it on my channel, but personally, I still use it, so I am going to keep it. Also, it's so pretty. The one thing I can say about when I was a Jaclyn fan is that Jaclyn and I very much had the same aesthetic, and we very much still do, so when she puts stuff out, I really like the aesthetic of it. Okay, this is the Park Ave Princess palette by Tarte. So I know that Hannah from Smoky Glow talks about this palette a lot and how she really likes it, and that kind of inspired me to want to use this more. I have not been the biggest fan of this palette, honestly, just because I'm not a huge fan of bronzer palettes in general. I don't know what it is about them. I just feel like the shades are never right for me. I just like specific singular bronzers, not palettes. But I do want to keep using this more because she kind of inspired me to look at it a little bit closer. And this shade, Princess Cut right here, looks like it'd be a really nice contouring shade for me. So I do want to keep this and use it. But if I don't use it much in the next few months, I will probably pass it along just because I know that there's other people out there who would really like it and use it. But I am going to keep it. I also love the mirror in here. I feel like this is one of the last things that Tarte did that was actually like good. So this is Anastasia Beverly Hills Moonchild. I have legit never used this. I got this in a beauty box and I have never used it. It even still has the clear plastic on it. So this is something that I'm definitely going to either sell or give away. Honestly, I probably will try to sell it, even though there's so many of these on the market because a lot of people are selling theirs. I do think I'm going to try to sell it because it's so untouched. I was just not a fan of this when it came out, and when I got it in my box, I was kind of disappointed because this is just not my style, not my thing. I think it's a pretty palette if you like this type of style. It has pretty packaging as well, but just not my thing, so I'm gonna sell this or pass it along. Oh my gosh, okay, so this is like one of my hidden gems. This is the e.l.f., what is this, strobe palette? I forget. And they have these super creamy, almost like Vaseline type of highlighters in it. This was recommended to me from some YouTuber, I cannot remember who, but it was one of those palettes that you would see and you'd be like, oh, what's that? That's gonna suck. But it's actually really nice. Yes, these are very like creamy, slippery highlighters, but they have such a reflection to them. They look really nice on the skin. However, this palette is old and I have used it so much. I mean, you can see the dent in this one right here, that I am going to probably throw this out just because I don't think anyone's gonna want it because it's old and it has my grubby fingers in it. But it was a good palette, and you know, I might repurchase this in the future to see if I still like it. I just think that this one's a little bit old. Okay, so this is the Pure Bronze and Brighten palette, and I'm a little torn on what to do with this because this is a really nice palette. The highlighters in here are so creamy. I mean, look at this like blush one. Like, look at that. That's insane. Like, oh my gosh, the pigment on these are creamy like butter. But the issue with that is they're really hard to use, okay? So like the highlighter, yes, is nice. And you can see that I've used it quite a few times, but it's really hard to use this one as a blush because it literally is like a straight highlighter eyeshadow, and the same thing with the bronzer. Like, they're not luminous, they're like legit highlighters, and they just don't look that good on the face. I tried really hard to like this and use this for a while, but I just don't think that I could make it work, and maybe someone else could, so I'm going to pass this one along. Okay, so this right here is the Carity Contour Kit. So this is what I bought because I could not afford the Anastasia Beverly Hills one. I mean, I don't really see a difference between this one and the Anastasia one. Like, if I held this one up and I told you it was the Anastasia one, you'd probably believe me, right? This was not a bad palette. I mean, it was fine. I just don't do a lot of contouring anymore, so I don't really think I need this anymore. It wasn't a bad palette, and I feel like Carity itself is kind of forgotten as a brand, but I think they have some good stuff, and this was definitely one of it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is the e.l.f. Bronzed Peach Aqua something blush bronzer thing, and I really, really wanted to like this because I'd heard good things about it, but I don't know. The product in here is very, very creamy and very smooth and very buttery. Something about the way it goes on the skin and the way it looks that is just not appealing to me. Also, this bronzer has like a gold shimmer to it, and I don't love that. This one is meh, so I am gonna pass this one along. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is something that I think I got in like my very first BoxyCharm. This is the Measurable Difference Concealer Collection palette, and you can see I have definitely used this. In all honesty, they're very like stiff. I mean, you can see they're very like stiff, dry concealers that are almost like a powdery type of texture. But that being said, these more tan shades, because they're a more stiff formula, worked great as like cream contours. And I did actually use these for a while as a cream contour, but honestly, I don't reach for it anymore. These are really starting to dry out, and you can see that it's literally a mess because I would just take my brush and like dig in there and like get all the colors. Anyways, it was fine, but you know, it's from a cheaper brand, and I think that's reflected in the quality a little bit, and I'm just kind of done with it. I had a good use of it, but this might be time to go in the trash. Okay, so this one's technically not a face palette because it's an eyebrow palette, but it's in here, so we're going to talk about it. This is the BH Studio Pro Eyebrow Kit, and I got this when I first started doing client makeup when I was like 15, 16, because I could not afford the brow book from Anastasia that a lot of makeup artists used and recommended. So I got this one instead, and it's not bad. I mean, the powders are fine for brows. I find that I end up using a lot more pencils and pomades on clients because of the fact that they're a little bit easier to work with than powders, and if I need a powder, I usually can just grab an eyeshadow, so I don't think I need this anymore, but it wasn't a bad palette. I mean, the shades in here are nice and cool toned, they're nice, and there's some waxes down here, but it served its purpose, but it's definitely not the best. Okay, so this right here is my favorite Z palette of all time. It has a bunch of different things in here, so I can tell you what these are. This is a ColourPop bronzer in the shade, I don't know what. I'm afraid of chipping my nails, so I will put it right here what this shade is. This is in the shade here, Kitty Kitty. This is from ColourPop as well. Love this highlighter, and I love this bronzer. This is a contouring shade from Makeup Geek. This is old, guys. This is in the shade Bad Habit. It's a warm, fair contour shade. These two are blushes from Makeup Geek. Like, remember when Makeup Geek blushes used to be the thing? This is in the shade Heartthrob, and this one is in the shade Love Letter. These are like when Makeup Geek was like first starting out. It's crazy. And these highlighters right here are actually the Dupe That highlighters from Ofra. This was like when Ofra was such a baby brand and nobody knew about it. Dupe That released highlighters, and if you don't know who Dupe That is, they are a makeup Instagram account and also YouTube channel that talk about dupes and makeup reviews. There was 2 shades, You Do You and You Glow Girl, I believe that one's called. They're fantastic. I still love them. I have a dent in them. They have not gone bad. They're fantastic. I think they're gorgeous and they go really well together. This is a random blush from I don't know where, but it is really pretty. And then this right here is the Urban Decay Sin highlighter, like a little tiny version of it that I got in a beauty box. And honestly, I do think I am going to get rid of these 2 shades right here because they're old and I don't use them anymore. They were Makeup Geek blushes that were fine. They're just a little too pigmented for me, and I have so many blushes, so I don't really need them. But everything else in here I do like, except for maybe this. I might get rid of this. I haven't used it forever. I don't know yet. Okay, next I have this Pacifica blush duo. It's the Coconut Blush. It says it's a coconut infused blush, and there's 2 shades here, which I can't get this open. There we go, got it open. There's 2 shades here. One's like kind of a muted brownish peach, and this one's kind of like a pinky peach shade. And yes, they are very pretty blushes. They're very smooth, but I honestly haven't used this palette a lot, and I feel like somebody else who has less of a blush collection could use this more. I just don't think it's necessary for me to have in my collection. It's not a bad product, but meh. I don't really need it. Okay, back here I have 2 single Ofra highlighters. I have the Nikkie Tutorials Glow Goals and Nikkie Tutorials Glazed Donut. Both beautiful. I love, love, love the Ofra highlighter formula. It's like literally one of my favorites. So I think I'm gonna reorganize the Z palette that I just showed you guys and put these in there. Okay, so this is actually a really interesting palette. This is the Cover FX Perfector Face Palette. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so this is an interesting palette to me. I honestly really like this contour shade right here. I feel like it's the perfect color for my skin tone, but I don't love any of these really. I mean, the blush is fine, but this finishing powder is really just glitter. This brightener is like a white highlighter, so I mean, it's fine, it's not bad. And then these 2 highlighters right here are just kind of like hard to get pigment off of and just not that great. So I don't know, I'm having trouble because like I said, I do like this contour shade a lot, but I don't use the rest of the palette, so I don't feel like keeping it for just one contour shade is productive. So I'm probably gonna pass this along. Okay, blast from the motherfucking past, y'all. Oh my gosh. I was just watching some of my old tutorials yesterday and this palette was featured in it lots of times. This was the Becca and Jaclyn Hill Champagne Glow face palette. It had Champagne Pop, Blush Copper, and Pearl in here. As you can see, I've repressed this one and I've repressed this one. The only one that I've never had to repress is Pearl, and you can see I have made quite a dent in Pearl. I don't even really know if you can see that. Probably can't. But the Champagne Pop in here is just Champagne Pop. I literally have like 12 versions of Champagne Pop and like a million different things. So I don't think I need this palette anymore, but I was so hyped to get this palette. I was so excited. I actually bought it myself off of Sephora. It was really expensive for me at the time. I think it was like 30 something bucks, or I don't know. It was not that expensive, but for like 15-year-old me, I was like, oh my God. I am going to get rid of this mainly because it's old. Sad to see this go, but it's time. It's time. These are my 2 Natasha Denona face mini palette thingies. This is the Blush and Glow, which I have raved about before. I absolutely love. Yes, it is like $20 or $25 or something like that. But in all honesty, I do think it's worth it. I think the blush is gorgeous and so is the highlighter. I like both of these. I do not regret that purchase. Definitely keeping that. However, the Bronze and Glow, I'm a little unsure. I think I put this in like a disappointing products video because of the highlighter in here. The highlighter is so like chunky and like glittery. It's not like the other one at all, which is very smooth, very shiny, but like not too much. It's kind of like a nice everyday highlighter. And the bronzer in here, I really keep trying to like I keep trying to like this so much, but it's a little like too red toned. Super creamy, super buttery, but just a little too red toned. I don't know. I'm gonna keep this for right now just because it takes up so little space, but if I do not change my mind about it or I do not start liking it at least a little bit within the next couple of months, I'm probably going to declutter it. Oh my goodness. So this is my Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. I got this back when the brand was actually rebranding. This was sold at TJ Maxx. As you can see, I've hit pan on these 2 shades right here. Used to use them all the frickin' time. Honestly, I don't really understand why this palette got so much hype, because these two powders right here are nice, but these shades right here, I've just never felt like they've done enough for me. Like, they just don't blend that well in my opinion, and they're just kind of hard to work with. I don't know, I've never been a fan of this palette, so I honestly am probably going to toss this because I don't feel like I can give it away with such big pans right here. But I mean, I did enjoy those two shades. I don't know, I don't understand the hype, and I don't contour, like, ever. I don't even really like how contouring looks on me, so I do not need this palette. Okay, this is the Amaya Cosmetics Colorette Blush Trio. This blush palette I loved, and I know so many people were a little bit iffy on this palette, but I love it. I love mixing all three of these together. I'll just take a big brush and go like this. I think it's like the perfect summery blush color. Love this palette. Definitely not going to get rid of it. It is amazing. Okay, these two e.l.f. palettes right here. This one is the blush palette, and I'm gonna get rid of this, honestly. I never really liked this at all. The shades in here are just not my shade. This is a very old palette, and while I think that it was good at the time, I just think there's way better blushes from the drugstore now. So I'm going to get rid of this. However, I kind of am inclined to keep the bronzer palette. This is in the shade Bronze Beauty. And other than this shade, which is very glittery, these three shades are really nice. And mixed together, they're really nice, and on their own, they're really nice. So I do think I'm going to keep this and try to use it a little bit more, because I find myself neglecting to use this. But I am going to keep it. It is a really nice drugstore bronzer palette, and I think I could get a little bit more use out of this. All right, this is the Ibby Beauty Highlight and Contour Palette right here. I have used this a little bit. I don't love it. I think the Carity one is much better. The contours are way too like gray, cool toned, and the highlights are fine. They're whatever. They're just like the normal highlighting shades and palettes. I am going to get rid of this. I have not used it a lot, and maybe somebody will want it. This is my Anastasia Beverly Hills Trio, Blush Trio right here. This is in Peachy Love. I actually got this at TJ Maxx when it was on sale because I did not think it was worth the full price, but it was really nice to get on sale. And honestly, I do like these blushes with the exception of this one. I don't know why brands do like these blushes that are like matte with glitter in them. I just don't think that they're appealing at all. This as a matte blush would be amazing, like a matte pure orange, just so fantastic. So I am going to keep this for a little bit. I might get rid of it coming up if I don't use it a ton, but it is small. I do like the shades in here. The formula is nice, so I'm going to keep this for right now. All right, this is another e.l.f. palette. This is the Total Face palette, and this was actually a palette that I was a big fan of for a while. And mainly for this bronzer shade right here, actually. I think this is a really nice cool tone bronzer that was actually a really nice contour shade for me. It's just not that pigmented, so you really have to dig in there to get it. This highlighter is very nice, but it's very natural, and then the blushes are very, very light. So this is a very nice, light palette. I really recommend this for beginners. I had my sister get this when she first started out in makeup because it's just so nice and easy and foolproof to use. However, while I do think it's a good palette, I don't need it anymore because I mean, I never reach for it, and I have so many things that are better. So I am going to pass this along, but for all you beginners out there, if you're looking for a palette to kind of experiment with like contouring and blush, if you want to, highly recommend this if you can find your shade. And then last but not least is this Tarteist Pro Glow palette. So I don't really get this palette. I mean, I think the Park Ave Princess palette is so much better. There are these two blushes right here, which are fine. Two highlighters, fine. These two bronzers are just weird. This one's like cool tone, but it has gold shimmer in it. And this one's very warm, orangey tone. I'm gonna get rid of this. Maybe someone else will like this. It's not great. The formulas are whatever, but I'm definitely not a fan. I think how it opens is kind of cool, but I'm a much bigger fan of the Tarteist eyeshadow palette than I am of the face palette. All right, so now it's time to put everything back in, and I will show you what I kept and show you what I got rid of. So this is low-key satisfying, but I just laid everything out so I can literally see everything that I have. I now own 14 face palettes, which I feel like is a good amount. I look at these, I like all of these, and now I can actually see them and use them, and everything in here I like, and it's very satisfying. I'm getting rid of 18 things in total, which is over half of what I kept, so I feel really good about it. And yeah, I'm looking at all these and I don't honestly feel sad about any of them. I think it's time for them to go. I used them or I didn't use them, and yeah, I'm happy. I'm done. I feel like at the end of every declutter, I have to have like these mandatory, like, I look like crap outros, but you know, that's kind of fun. And I don't think I look like crap. I think I just look like I don't have any makeup on. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I feel like I did a pretty good job decluttering. Thank you to all who voted on my poll. I really enjoyed doing that because I really want to put out content that you guys like and that you guys want to see. You guys really liked my last declutter, so maybe I'll do some more. I hate decluttering my makeup because I really do love my collection, but at the same time, it makes it so much easier to use, and honestly, I end up using a lot more stuff when I have a lot less. So yeah, let me know what you want to see next, and I hope you guys are having an amazing day. Give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, I will see you in my next one. Mwah!